You should be able to.
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay, sweet. Cool. Yeah. Well, Taylor in the dark.
Okay, so who's playing who?
So
we're gonna go through and do like a. I know
we
who
have.
the character is.
Yeah, I'll read through who's playing, who's reading for who.
Okay.
So we have Elizabeth reading for main character Pal.
Wave, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Orly is reading for Toric. Christian is reading for the foreman. Camera is reading for the hooded figure. Taylor is reading for Shah Dakar. Lauren is reading for Boopso. Anyone else? Caitlin is reading for Biren.
Oh.
And
some extras that I'm playing too, I think.
Oh yeah, Liz is reading for some extras. I will be narrating the script, action description. And did I miss anything? I think that's it. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's get started.
Let's fucking go.
We're doing it.
That water near
Yeah.
The Fast and the Force-iest, Mon Gaza Drift. Written by Karen Hahn and Brian David Gilbert. Exterior, outer space. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, stars twinkle in the background as the roller inches its way across the screen. The New Republic rises to prominence after the fall of the Galactic Empire. But while a new peace is being forged, move this over here.
I'm just realizing we need the theme music behind it.
I know, right? That soundtrack handy.
Who knows how to do that?
I could vocalize it.
I know, right?
But while a new pace is being forged, the sport of pod racing is outlawed due to its inherent danger. However, in certain outcroppings of the galaxy, there are those who still seek the thrill of the race. An engine rumbles in the distance. Pod racing thrives in the shadows. Risking punishment is nothing to those who risk death. In the past, it served as a chance to show skill to crowds across worlds. But now, this is pod racing. A sleek chrome pod racer tears through the text, revealing that the stars were merely the reflection of the night sky in a pool of water. The camera pulls up to reveal a water-covered salt flat, rippling in the wake of the pod racer. In the far distance, a cityscape rises above the rocky terrain, neon lights blurring in the haze of smoke. Two more pod racers, one with thick golden engines, and the other illuminated by bands of glowing teal light, careen after the first. Interior, teal pod racer cockpit night. And now to Lon. Gong Sun sits in the pilot seat wearing glowing goggles that match the light of his pod racer. His tendrils are tied behind his head. Music blares inside the cockpit. He laughs. I'll just. This is all in the same scene, so I'm not going to read scene headers.
Okay.
Shah Dakar, another alien, is fully bald. He's wearing a gold lame suit that balances each of his 6 arms operates a different part of the pod racer.
Should have stayed in Jalor, Gone.
The gold pod racer slams sideways into the teal one. Gong curses him now to Lon. One of Descartes' hands pulls a lever. A compartment on his pod racer opens to reveal a mechanical arm tipped with an electroblade. The electroblade slices through the cable between Gong's cockpit and his right engine. Gong's pod racer peels away from the racetrack, tumbling into the darkness. His music slowly fades. For a moment, there's silence. Then an explosion, and a ball of flame illuminates the night. The future EDM music Descartes is playing takes over. The explosion reflects on the chrome engines. A hooded figure sits in the cockpit. As the flames die down, he briefly glances back. He seems calm, composed, unlike the alien pursuing him. Descartes pulls up next to the hooded figure.
On Gaza's mine, outsider.
As the hooded figure returns his gaze to the course, he boosts. His pod racer shoots into Mon Gaza's city center, almost a contained alleyway. the neon lights and billboards creating streaks of color in the air as the pod racer passes through. The gold pod racer starts gaining on them. They weave through the streets, passing through buildings, large machinery, and civilians. The faster they go, the narrower the streets seem to become. The chrome pod racer is so far ahead. Now, victory seems assured. They flash by a construction site. The road ahead grows less and less complete, and a gap rapidly nears ahead. The hooded figure boosts again. The chrome pod racer speeds up and begins to propel itself over the gap.
Bingo.
Descartes pulls the lever. Once again, a compartment on Descartes' pod racer opens. This time, the electroblade whips out, disconnecting from the mechanical arm. The electroblade flies into the underside of the chrome pod racer's cockpit, sending off sparks. The hooded figure scrambles to maintain control of his flickering console. The chrome pod racer immediately begins spinning out of control. It plummets into a pit, about to crash. Cut to interior, rundown bedroom. Dawn. Pal O'Connor jolts awake. For a moment, the teenager remains lying still, staring up at the ceiling. Her room is small, and there isn't that much around her. Even the blanket covering her body is shabby.
Okay, that's bad. Pal!
Pal shakes her head, as if shaking off a bad dream, and gets out of bed.
Pal!
Interior, rundown living room. Dawn. Biren, Pal's father, stands near the door, arms crossed over his chest. Pal enters the room, pulling on a jacket.
There'll be fire if you don't keep sleeping in this late. I don't want
this job anyway.
Pal moves to put on her boots.
This is one of the last functioning mines in our sector. If you screw this up, there won't be anything left for you among Gaza.
Good. There never has been.
Pal leaves, slamming the door behind her. Exterior, Mongaza streets. Dawn. Pal walks out of the house. A short distance behind the building is a large machine covered in a tarp. She glances at it before turning towards the mine, kicking up dust as she goes.
Hey, pal.
Boopso, a small Rhodian male, runs up from behind Pal. She doesn't respond.
Finally finished my script.
What, the Miltang 5 fanfic?
Not fan fiction. I'm developing my portfolio, and I think it would be super cool spin-off series if I can get it to the Miltigan producers.
That's just fan fiction.
Boopso stops in his tracks, stunned.
It's for my portfolio.
Interior, Mongaza Mines, day. Pal sticks her hand into a reader. It scans her, and a chute deposits her tool bag at her feet. Behind her is a long line of miners, all of them looking tired and worn out. As Pal picks up her bag, Boopso steps to the reader and repeats the process. Pal and Boopso are heading into the mines when the foreman, an imposing basilisk, steps in front of them. One of his four arms has been replaced by a rudimentary mechanical claw.
You're late, O'Connor.
Pal frowns. Boopso sidles away.
The spice isn't going anywhere.
And neither are the machines. Number 48's jammed again, thanks to Torek's shoddy workmanship.
Then why don't you fire Torek?
Because he's here on time. And if you want to keep your job, you better fix that machine before he does any more damage to it.
Over the foreman's shoulder, Torek, a smug-looking human teenager, starts towards the carts. The carts don't run on tracks. They're chunky vehicles, the science fiction equivalent of electric airport carts.
Take your friend and get to work. Boopso, make sure she doesn't get lost this time.
Pal and Boopso run towards the carts. Torek is already on his way.
Hey, Torek.
Shut it, Boops. You decided to show up today, O'Connor?
If I quit, who keep in your place? Who keep you
Whoever
in
gets
place?
there first gets the loser's next 2 weeks of overtime credits.
Haven't you learned your lesson since last time?
That was on purpose. You think I didn't mean to lose that one?
Torek jumps into a cart and hits the thrusters.
Hey!
Pal runs to the nearest cart as Torek takes off.
Pal, wait. I'm supposed to make sure you don't get lost.
As Pal's cart drives off, Boopso hurriedly takes the next cart.
How come nobody waits for Boopso?
Interior, Mongaza Mine's day. Torek is already pushing his cart as fast as it'll go. Other miners scoot hurriedly out of the way as the three carts barrel through the mines. Pal is quick to catch up. The two carts are barely big enough to fit through the mine shaft together, and they jostle against each other as they speed along. Interior Mongaza Mine day. Two washed-up spice miners are playing a dice game with chance cubes. A smooth jazz music softly emanates from a tinny radio guy beside them.
Typo ever.
Jazz
That's not a typo.
We'll talk about it later, but there's this.
Smooth jazz. They hear the sound of a minecart approaching.
It says an alien language.
Alien language.
This is right.
The two miners quickly stash away their chance cubes and get up, trying to act natural. Torek's minecart drifts in, slamming into the wall right where the miners were playing dice just a few moments ago.
Sorry.
Pal's cart speeds through the next, followed by Boopso. Interior Mongaza Mine day. Torek, Pal, and Boopso's carts continue to race through the mine, following each other in that order. The corridor widens, revealing 12 divergent tunnels. Torek looks back at Pal, concerned expression on his face.
Do you know which way 48 is?
No?
Good.
Torek's cart veers towards the wall. He reaches out of the cart and grabs an exposed wire. In an instant, the wire pulls loose, and the mine is plunged into darkness. Torek laughs at the sound of his cart, as the sound of his cart fades into the distance.
Torek, Ichuta!
The sound of Boopso's hollering flies by. Pal tries to switch on the cart's lights, but none work. Still, she doesn't stop moving, trying to follow the light of the other two carts, but they soon disappear. Her eye catches a new glint of light in the distance. Pal speeds towards it. The walls around her grow narrower the farther she goes. The cart is just barely big enough to fit through. Interior, cavern below Mongaza day. Suddenly, the path opens into a huge cavern. Pal skids to a halt. The cavern is illuminated by a thin, pale stream of light coming in from high above. In the center of the room, the source of the glint that Pal was following. It's a chrome pod racer, embedded on its side in the red sand far below the surface of Mongaza. For a long moment, Pal can only stare at the pod racer. Finally, she gets out of the cart.
Well, there go my overtime credits.
Slowly, she begins walking towards the pod racer. She circles the crashed vehicle cautiously.
Hello?
No answer. There's no sign of any pilot in the cockpit, dead or alive. Something compels her to move closer. She reaches out, and her fingers find the throttle. Suddenly, exterior, Mongaza, night, the previous evening. The previous night's race flashes through Pal's head, rippling echoes. She sees the three pod racers. She sees Gong's pod racer explode. She sees the electroblade appear from Descartes' ship. She sees the chrome pod racer go down. She sees the hooded figure. But as the flames of the crash illuminate his face,
Hey, kid.
interior, cavern below Mongaza, day. Pal reels backwards, quickly pulling her hand away. Behind her stand Descartes and his posse of three menacing aliens.
Hands off. I won that pod race fair and square. Strip miners like you shouldn't dirty the chrome.
Pal looks around wildly, struggling to make sense of her vision.
You I know you.
You and everyone else on this rundown planet. Now let me put this into terms you might understand. This machine goes very fast, and it's very expensive.
I know what a pod racer is, and I found it first. It's mine.
One of the menacing aliens puffs up their chest and starts to walk toward Pal, but Descartes puts out an arm to stop him.
Okay, kids, look. You didn't find this. It's my property, and I'm just collecting it after the guy I want it from kindly left it in this ditch.
Pal winces as she remembers the vision.
The guy in the hood.
Descartes pauses for a moment, startled, and then shakes his head.
All right. I don't know who the hell you are, but when someone bets their racer, it's a done deal.
Descartes and his posse begin moving towards the pod racer to investigate the damage.
I thought pod races were outlawed.
Don't you have spice to drill?
So if I beat you in a race, this racer would be mine?
Descartes turns from the cockpit with a mean look. He's completely lost his patience.
No, it wouldn't, because no one has ever beaten me. And more importantly, you don't have a pod racer to bet.
My dad does.
This stops Descartes and his posse in their tracks. There's nothing Descartes loves more than an easy mark.
How'd your dad get his hands on a...
Races. His name's Baran.
One of Descartes' cronies lets out an ugly laugh. The whole crew finds this realization hilarious.
Duran O'Connor? That's rich. He's been out of the game for 12 years. Don't tell me you're all he's got to show for it.
Hal shrinks at this response.
Tell you what, kid. You get Duran to show up with his pod racer at the pits north of the old speedway tonight, and I might consider taking you up on that bet. I'd love to make sure no O'Connor ever races again.
He'll be there.
Pal turns, heading back to her cart. Descartes, scoffing, returns his attention to the crashed pod racer. Interior Montaza mine, dead. Pal's cart races back through the mines. She looks frustrated, but as the cart speeds up, she grows more determined. Interior Gaza mine, dead. As Pal returns to the entrance of the mine, she hops out of the cart, looking preoccupied. Boopso and Torek spot her and run up.
Where were you?
I didn't think you'd get that lost. O'Connor.
The commotion draws the attention of the foreman, who looks less than happy.
Sorry, I completely lost my place. What page are we on?
12.
Well,
12. Like I bumped my scroll. So sorry. 12. Okay.
No, it's
Oh, okay.
12 on the top right.
Script page 12, yeah.
Script page 12. Yeah. O'Connor, aren't you supposed to be fixing 48?
actually, I got to 48. I fixed it.
Then why is it still not running? You're all worth more trouble. You're all more trouble than you're worth.
I didn't do anything. I was just following them.
Look, Boobs, you're a nice kid. Stop hanging out with these idiots. All three of you are fired.
Torek and Boopso are shocked.
Wait, what?
Torek continues yelling at the foreman as Pal chucks her tool bag onto the ground.
Good. I've got better things to do.
Like what?
Pod racing.
Interior rundown living room, afternoon. Pal bursts into the house, breathless from running back from the mine.
Dad!
Biren appears from another room, looking confused.
Hell, did something happen at the mine?
Dad, you have to race tonight.
Why are you home so early?
I got fired. You have to race tonight.
Biren goes silent. He stares at Pal, processing what he's hearing.
I met a guy, Descartes, who says we can win a pod racer, that pod racing is still going on, and if you bring the old racer to the pits near the speedway.
Pal, we needed that job. How are we going to afford to eat next week?
I just told you, we can pod race. We'll get so much more money.
Okay. No, pal. When you pod race, you die. I didn't quit racing because I stopped earning credits. I quit because I had to take care of you. I'm still trying to take care of you. Why can't you do the same for me?
What are you afraid of? We have nothing to lose.
Yelling, I'm everything. When your mother died in a race, I woke up. Why did we ever think we could have a family and chase that stupid dream?
A long pause. Pal is bristling.
You won't go. I will.
I didn't watch your mother die so I could make the same mistake you did.
Pal begins gathering her things in silence.
Pal, if you walk out that door, don't bother coming back.
Pal pauses in the doorway and leaves without looking back. Exterior, Mongaza streets, afternoon. Dust clouds the air as Pal throws the tarp back from the machine behind the house. The dust clears to reveal her father's red pod racer, the paint chipped from years of disuse. Still, the sleek triangular engines catch the light. They were made to race. A montage as Pal rushes to get the pod racer back in fighting shape. She hops into the cockpit and tries to turn it on, to no effect. She cranks a wrench as she works on the left engine. She releases a viscous fluid from the bottom of the cockpit and pours in a fresh replacement. Boopso appears, watching from a distance while enjoying a snack. Pal calls over to have him hold a tray of tools as she rivets a new plate to the side of the cockpit. It's yellow, not red, but it'll do. The red Mongaza sun sinks in the sky, dipping just below the mountains. As the montage ends, Pal stands up, wiping her arm across her forehead and leaving a streak of grease behind. Finally, Pal sits in the cockpit and flips a switch. She holds her breath. 1 second, 2. Suddenly, purple electricity arcs between the two engines. Pal slumps back into the seat with relief. Boopso, standing next to the pod racer, goes wild. Exterior, the pits, north of Mongaza Speedway, night. A couple dozen dangerous but very cool-looking aliens, humans alike, mingle on the sand. One tall cyborg woman sips from a glowing flask. The race is a ramshackle affair. It's clearly an outlawed underground sport. Torek stands apart from the crowd, looking especially awkward as a tipsy alien stumbles into him and then uses him as a leaning post.
Oh God. Oh no. Oh, it's synced up to your computer.
Seated in the middle of the crowd and holding its attention is Descartes, chanting with a sultry alien woman. His conversation is interrupted by the approaching thrum of the pod racer engine. He looks up to see Duran's old pod racer nearing the track, with Boopso and a helmeted figure both crammed into the cockpit.
You showed, O'Connor.
Boopso hops out of the pod racer as the other rider takes off of the helmet, revealing Pal underneath. Descartes looks startled, then quickly gets up and waddles to the pod racer as Pal dismounts.
I should have known Duran wouldn't show his face here. I expected too much from that coward.
Pod racers here. That's what you wanted.
I've got no use for a pod racer if I don't have anyone to race against.
I'm going to race you.
Silence falls over the crowd. Descartes begins to laugh, the sound much shriller than expected from an alien of his stature. Taking this as a sign, the rest of the crowd laughs with him.
I see you take after your mother. Look, I'm already stooping by agreeing to race a human, but a baby human? Gazgano's the last pod racer alive who was dumb enough to do that.
The crowd parts to reveal Gazgano, who floats towards the two in an anti-gravity chair. He is astoundingly old. His skinny frame is comprised almost entirely of wrinkles.
It'd be like racing a Philumpopet. And it's no fun betting when the odds are that bad. Check that antique and get out of here. And do you know that guy?
Descartes points to Torek.
Take him too. He's killing the vibe.
But I'm betting the pod racer.
Descartes has already stopped paying attention. Gasgano croaks something to a person beside him. They look shocked, but
Yes. Gasgano bets 10,000 credits on the girl.
that gets everyone's attention. Gasgano lifts a frail arm, making his intentions known by waving a credit chip.
I bet the same on Descartes.
Bystanders begin shouting out their own bets. Like it or not, the match is on. Torek moves closer to Pal.
What are you doing here?
Ain't what you lose.
Killing the vibe.
Torek looks wounded.
Fight it.
Descartes looks angered, but there's nothing he can do about it now.
Who keeps inviting Gasgano? All right, O'Connor. Let's hope you don't follow too closely in your mother's footsteps.
He turns his back on Pal and heads towards his pod racer. One of the heftier members of his posse lifts him up to it.
I get the chrome pod racer if I win. You get this one if I lose.
Sure, let's get this over with.
Descartes revs his engines, showing off. Pal ignores it, getting back into her pod racer.
You got this, pal.
Pal nods and heads to the starting line. In the crowd behind her, the hooded figure watches from the shadows. Exterior Mongaza Speedway, night. The crowd has shifted to gather around the starting line. Pal's red pod racer and Descartes' gold pod racer sit side by side, rumbling anxiously as they wait. Interior, gold pod racer cockpit, night. Descartes turns on his music and adjusts each of his 6 racing gloves. His pod racer vibrates with the beat. Interior red pod racer cockpit, night. Pal takes a deep breath. She lowers the visor of her helmet. Exterior Mongaza Speedway, night. People cheer on either side of the 2 pod racers. An alien stands between them, waiting to signal the start of the race. The alien lifts a flare gun. Bang! The flare flies into the sky. Both pod racers speed away as the crowd's cheers grow louder. Exterior Mongaza Speedway track, night. Pal and Descartes are neck and neck as they get going. A tight corner puts Descartes in front, and he maneuvers his pod racer so that Pal can't get past as they reach a stretch of track littered with shipping crates and out-of-use heavy machinery. Interior, gold pod racer cockpit, night. I'm just going to exclude those headers. Descartes pulls a lever. Compartment on Descartes' pod racer pops open. The mechanical arm folds out, and the electroblade rakes along one of the shipping crates. A mountain of spice pours out. Pal swerves on instinct, but punches through the red cloud of spice. A faint stream of red trails behind her as she flies up the other side. The crowd now watches the race on a holoprojector. Torek and Boopso stand at the back of the crowd.
Descartes is in the lead.
Come on, pal.
He notices Boopso looking at him and immediately pretends he hasn't said anything. The pod racers approach a split path. Descartes goes left. Pal, assuming he knows the track better than she does, immediately follows. The walls grow closer and closer in, making it easy for Descartes to keep Pal stuck behind. Pal keeps alternating between boosting and pulling the brake, as she keeps trying to get around Descartes. The path widens as they hit a metal bridge going over molten lava. Bubbles of lava pop below them, sending up globes of fiery liquid. As Descartes swerves in front of Pal yet again, she tries to hit the brakes. Pod racer makes a sputtering noise, starts to jerk around. Pal frantically checks her controls. The monitor shows the exhaust ducts are fully clogged. Small red puffs of spice shoot out of Pal's pod racer as she attempts to clear the exhaust. Ahead of her, Descartes pulls further and further away. He's already cleared the bridge and gotten onto the salt flat, the reflection of his pod racer skimming away beneath him. Pal is on the verge of giving up, but tries to clear the exhaust one last time. She puts the pod racer into the highest gear and uses all of her strength to keep the throttle in boost position. Every gauge lights up red, and a pressure warning light begins to flash. The pressure meter pops. Pod racer rumbles. Pal's pod racer disappears in an explosion of red spice. A second passes, and her pod racer shoots out of the cloud, going faster than she's ever gone before. The distance between her and Descartes quickly closes. As she's about to catch up, the neon lights of the city center gleam ahead. The track once again diverges. One goes into the city, and the other leads down into an abandoned mine shaft, with warning signs in an alien language posted around the entrance. Pal looks from Descartes' pod racer to the mine shaft, and then back again. She makes a snap decision and veers off into the mines. The crowd is fired up by Pal's resurgence, but immediately grows concerned when she disappears from the holomap entirely.
Where is she going?
Spice mine. In the back of the crowd, Torek and Boopso turn to each other. Pal races through an almost complete darkness. The light from the electricity of her engines dimly illuminates the mine around her. She's going far too fast for someone who's never traveled these mines before, and yet something is guiding her. The path seems to go down, down, down. Then a flat patch, right before it begins to arc towards the surface. A dot of light guides the way. It grows bigger and bigger as Pal races towards it. As Descartes races out of the city center, he swivels his head around to check behind him. Nothing. Suddenly, Pal's pod racer shoots out from a hole in the ground, landing on a ridge running parallel to the track. Pal's pod racer reappears on the holomap. The crowd goes nuts. Descartes puts one of his hands on the electroblade lever. The ridge is taking Pal higher and higher. She's about to hit a jump. As her pod racer hits the gap, Pal closes her eyes. She flashes back to the vision of Descartes' electroblade, piercing the belly of the chrome pod racer. She opens her eyes. Descartes pulls the lever. Pal hits the brakes. Pal's pod racer slows in mid-air as Descartes' electroblade threads the triangle created by her cockpit and engines. It flies into an old construction crane, which judders from the impact. The cargo it was holding shakes loose. Pal boosts. Pal's pod racer soars straight over the falling debris. Below her, the cargo crashes to the ground, right in front of Descartes. He swerves out of the way and his pod racer spinning wildly on the track. The crowd cheers. Torek and Boopso hold each other and jump up and down. Gasgano nods sagely and chuckles as the people who bet against him start to realize their mistake. Interior, red pod racer cockpit, night.
Ooh.
Exterior, Mangaza Speedway, night. Pal's pod racer zooms past the finish line and comes to a stop. The crowd is cheering wildly as she stands in the cockpit, raising her arms in victory. Boopso muscles his way through the crowd.
You did it!
Descartes' pod racer comes in next. He takes off each of his 6 racing gloves and throws them petulantly. He storms off, humiliated. One of Descartes' posse tows in the chrome pod racer, bringing it to Pal. Pal hops out of her cockpit to inspect the pod racer she's now won. At the edge of the crowd, Gasgano still sits in his anti-gravity chair, which is now stuffed with credit chips. Pal runs her hand over one of the chrome pod racer's engines.
This is amazing. You're incredible. How are you going to get this home?
Why do you think I brought you along?
Why did you... Ooh, I get to fly it?
Pal nods. Boopso immediately starts scrambling into the cockpit.
Could you drop me off on your way back?
Pal heads back to her old red pod racer, leaving the crowd still gathered around the new chrome pod racer. A single figure stands by the old machine.
Been a while since I saw someone put Descartes in his place.
I barely won.
Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a parasecond. Winning's winning.
Thanks.
You did your family proud today.
Hal pauses, remembering her conversation with Biron.
I don't have a family anymore.
That's funny.
The hooded figure pulls back his hood, revealing a beautiful, muscular bald head with kind eyes. Vin Diesel. Hal's eyes widen as she realizes this is the man from her vision. Vin places his hand on Pal's shoulder.
I think you just found a new one.
Cut to black.
Star Wars.
Oh, it's fun.
That was cool, guys. Thanks for
Oh my.
Lord.
Sorry, I was wrangling a cat. Like, he stole
Kitty.
the toy and took it somewhere, so you know.
Paul, you gave yourself a very big job.
Yeah,
I did.
great.
Thanks for I kind of want to do this again, but have more like
Yeah.
character dialogue. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's okay with
What should we
everyone.
Dude, let's do it.
Reminds me of that. Did you guys ever see that script that Donald Glover wrote about like Deadpool and the Last White Rhino?
No.
Donald Glover just like as a joke wrote a fan script about like Deadpool hanging out with like the last of the endangered white rhino species.
Is it just Deadpool talking to himself the whole time?
No, I think the rhino talks back. I'll see if I can find it. But I remember like reading that, and it was
Wow.
definitely a similar vibe of like a fan written script, but it's actually like well written.
Right?
Like, yeah.
I feel like you could actually make something out of it.
yeah.
That sounds like a very Deadpool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, buddy.
Yeah, well, because it was like Donald Glover, there was a time when Donald Glover was supposed to be doing a Deadpool animated show. And it was one of those things that like, I think it was like in development for a while and then never ended up going past development. But it was good. It was supposed to be a thing for a while. And then I think it was like after it got canceled, it was like, fuck it, I'm going to just write this. I just like post this script about like this Deadpool and this rhino. That's not actually part of the show, but just something for fun.
Hey, I'm game.
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to think of. I know I've seen like mocks, like the actual full mock scripts. I'm just trying to remember.
Okay, I kind of had this idea because Taylor showed me a Community episode, or no, it was what was it? It was like Dan Harmon's table read.
Yeah, with all the old cast members.
Yeah,
for Community.
yeah. Donald Glover was on that too, and a table read over Zoom was pretty cool.
Sorry, Orly, I just see the cat.
No, she's having a time of it.
I hope that you can just see her in the background of some of the shots, right?
Occasionally you can see her ears in the recording. Her ears are just in the corner here.
Yeah.
She did do the jumpy thing, but the way my camera was pointed, you couldn't see it.
No.
But you can see me doing this like the whole time, and then you can see like her little ears pop up occasionally just in the corner here, just like. Woo.
We definitely need to make a highlights reel, and it's just the little cat ears.
Just the cat ears in the corner.
Meanwhile, I'm
Aw.
over here with like my plethora of Star Wars things.
I know. I love your Star Wars stuff. All I have is a jet.
All I
Skywalker.
have is a stick.
This isn't even.